at our 47th annual general meeting of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association. We've got a fairly full agenda on today. So as I mentioned before, if you're not speaking, please have yourself on mute. And we give the speaker the very best opportunity to get through what they need to get through. If you have any questions, on the bottom of the Zoom screen, you'll see a button that says reactions. Within reactions, there's a couple of different hand signals. If you click one of those, we should be able to see you. Alternately, you can write questions in the chat function, and again, we'll get there. If for some reason we haven't picked that up on the way through, feel free to literally just put your hand up and wave, and hopefully we'll spot that, and we'll be able to move on. Okay. Mr. Jones, apologies.
Okay, so we've had only two formal apologies sent through ahead of the meeting. We had one apology from Verna Blewett and another one from John Day in Brisbane. So they're the only formal apologies ahead of the meeting. There may be a few post-meeting, but that's all good.
Dan DeLua from South Australia.
Oh, true, yes.
Yes.
He apologised moments before, didn't he?
Yeah, about 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay, so the minutes of the previous meeting have been uploaded to the AEVA website. It's been put under the members section. So if you go to the main website, you'll see a tab called For Members. If you click on that, you'll see a button there called AEVA Offices. If you click on that, hopefully now Christopher might be able to correct me on this, but
you might bring them up on the screen, perhaps?
Perhaps not on my netbook, but someone else could. Maybe you could.
Did we say that Christopher had the
Oh yeah, Christopher's a co-chair, so he might be able to do that.
Give me a moment. Yes, I should be able to. There.
Okay, brilliant. Very good. Now, CJ, Michael Day's also asking to be a co-host.
Yep.
Presentation.
Just in the process of doing that, my computer is very slow, so if it's quicker for
right. Well, we'll just have a quick look. Do we have any questions with regard those minutes? I'm going to make the assumption that people have seen them in the past. Are there any questions? I don't think there's anything particularly controversial in those minutes.
No, they were quite detailed, but
yep, very good.
Yeah, as I said, at the bottom of the AEVA offices information page, you'll find a link to the 2019 AGM minutes. If you can't see it because of for whatever reason, you can actually sneak around the back way.
That's not a secret information.
We're not mute at the moment.
Oh.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, are you looking for someone to move the adoption of the minutes?
I will do. I was just waiting for the confirmation. Right. Okay. Very good. Yes, please.
I would like to move the confirmation of the minutes of the 2019 AGM.
Can I have a seconder for that motion, please? We've got Bryce there, CJ.
Oh, brilliant.
And do I have any disagreements? I'm going to go with disagreements rather than agreement. Does anybody disagree that we accept those minutes? No? Okay, that's good. That's passed. Excellent. All right.
We do actually have a poll for that, but
do you want to give the poll a quick try whilst we're
sure.
we're in this.
Okay, so if everyone can click on the poll option, you'll probably see motion to accept the minutes of the 2019 AGM. Yes, no.
You do that, Chris. You click on it, and then it pops up for everybody else.
Okay, launch polling. Here we go. In progress.
There, it's popped up. Good.
Okay, and then submit. Chris, is that what you do once you've ticked that one?
So you won't be able to submit it until you've answered all the questions. So you might have
Oh,
to either
I
launch
can-
a poll at the end or leave it up and we tick it as we go and submit it at the end.
okay. We'll leave it up then. That seems. Oh well.
Okay.
Okay, so that should have been 3 separate files. Fair enough.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Okay, so we'll move on to the President's report. So obviously been a very interesting year with C19. And I might just mention before I get into the guts of this report that all of these reports will be available in their Word format on the website. Chris, whereabouts will they be on the website?
They'll be under that For Members tab.
Okay.
And they'll also go out in EV News October 15.
Correct.
Brilliant. Okay. So if you miss anything, don't worry. It's coming at you in all sorts of forms. All right. So obviously a really different year for everybody. I think one of the great things that's occurred is we've had this live experiment about the benefits of what electric vehicles can produce for large populations right across the world in terms of the clean air. And certainly Australia has seen some fantastic improvement in our air quality, which has been tremendous. So talking about AEVA on the international stage, firstly, we've now taken a contribution role to the global EV movement alongside various other bodies from, say, the US and Norway, the Netherlands, Croatia, the UK, a whole heap of countries. I think Sweden's in there.
Scotland, Norway, New Zealand.
There's stacks.
Canada.
Some of whom you will have an opportunity to see at the conference in November, and that has seen us being involved in the potential creation of an international EV group, which has been very good. I actually presented at a Plug in America webinar last week. No, actually it was this week on Monday night, Tuesday morning.
2 a.m.
Yeah, it was reasonably early. Yes, 2 a.m. So, and of course we've been participating in things like World EV Day and obviously the National Drive Electric Week. So our profile on the international stage is growing and something that we will continue to do over the coming 12 months. Back on the home front, today would have actually been the first day of the EV Vision Expo out at the Melbourne Showgrounds. Weather is perfect, except it's a little bit windy. There's no rain around, which is a great sign, except we're not there, as many people might be aware. What we have done is we've pivoted that into an e-conference, the EV Vision e-conference, which is now going to be the largest EV-only conference ever staged here in Australia. It's on the 27th of November. Anybody who hasn't seen the details, tickets are already on sale. There's over 40 speakers going to be at that conference, a whole heap of, there's 3 different streams, all sorts of things. Tickets are only $40 for members.
25. It was concession rate as well, 25.
Yep. So I'd just like to firstly say congratulations to Bryce and the EV Conference Subcommittee for the great work that they've done this year in in pivoting that from what was going to be a 10,000 person conference out at the showgrounds into our first ever online conference. Really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to getting there.
Well, it's going to be a 300 person conference and a 10,000 per day expo.
So it's changed quite a bit. Also on the home front, I'd like to quickly mention the States meeting. That's been going really well, and I wanted to personally thank Clive Atwater, Chris Jones, Michael Day, Sally Knight, John Day, Hunter Murray and Ed Brow for their regular contributions to that meeting. So we meet on a monthly basis, talk about various issues with regard to the association nationally and also in the States. There's been a few other contributors filling in from time to time. So also thank you very much to those people as well. The website launch, as everyone would be aware, seems like a million years ago now, but we managed to get the new website up and running, and it's very quickly become the centre of our universe, as we're all aware. So a massive thanks to Rob Hills, Christopher Walkenden, Warren Coop. Is it Warren? Wes Coop, John Clark and Chris Jones. Really delighted with where we've come to now with the website. So that's obviously moved on dramatically from where we were same time last year. And thanks very much to those people for their work on that. Our newsletter is moving forward at a great rate of knots. It's now become a genuine bona fide publication that many members are using regularly, and it's a fantastic source of information, comprehensive information, in fact, to allow all of us to become ambassadors about the electric vehicle scene. So huge congratulations and thank you very much to Bryce Gatton on that one as well. He is effectively the newsletter, and that's been something that has been fantastic and a real progression over the last few years for the association. We've got ourselves involved in a project called Idle Off. You might have, if you're reading the newsletters or looking on the website, you might have seen the details of the Idle Off project. Fantastic project that's been put together for high school students about the dangers of emissions, with parents idling their vehicles, waiting in a queue for kids to come out and run into a cloud of toxic gas. So the program is heading out to schools now, and we've had a big say in what's gone on with that, and obviously we're promoting it and endorsing it. So I'd encourage everyone to have a look at that. Very good project. It's idleoff.com.au. Many people would already be aware of the changes we've been considering as the National Executive with regard to our legal structure. That work continues, and shortly there'll be some information out to branches to consider some of those changes moving forward. We're aiming for a change completion, assuming that everyone's happy with what we've put together, for sometime early next year. We have a new sub-branch, so a round of applause from everybody. The Geelong sub-branch, represented by Doug here. I didn't see Blake on that list, no. So represented by Doug Rolfe, formed down in Geelong. It's been a very strong EV area for many, many years, and we're delighted to have the Geelong guys on board with us. So a big welcome to Doug and the crew from down Geelong. Really looking forward to when we get out of the lockdown bits and pieces to getting back down to Geelong and enjoying some of the meetings that they're having down that way. So welcome, Doug, and congratulations on getting that up going. We've had quite a bit of consultation going on, even though we've had the pandemic running. So a few of the organisations that we've been working with include the the ETU, Renew, Green Fleet, RACV, BWP Trust, which has been an interesting one. They own very high amount of the Bunnings sites around the country, Australia and New Zealand. Infrastructure Partnerships Australia, and RAWS, who are the Registered Automotive Workshop Scheme. Finally, I'd like to say thanks to the hardworking branch committees right around the country. There's a lot of people, and a lot of them are here in this meeting, but some not, who do a lot of work for the association, and I think we're really heading in the right direction. We've got a lot of great volunteers, and I just wanted to give my personal thanks to the work that they do and the effort that they put in, because we're all doing it on a volunteer basis, and it's really starting to get the EV movement happening in Australia. On behalf of all the members, I'd like to thank the National Executive, Clive Atwater, the Vice President, Chris Jones, the Secretary, and Michael Day, the Treasurer, for their fantastic work over the past 12 months. It has been a year like no other, but we've still managed to get through a whole heap of things in terms of the association, structures, setting up things, papers to government, lobbying, pivoting conferences, all sorts of bits and pieces. So big thank you to those gentlemen, and looking forward to working with them again next year. Finally, I'd just like to extend my thanks to all the members, because without the members, we are no longer. We've got a great group of people, and it's something that is definitely growing here in Australia, and I'm really keen to see it reach its full potential. And I think the sky's the limit with this one, and really looking forward to the next 12 months. So thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any questions regarding the President's report? No, all good. Okay, nothing in the chat. Fantastic. All right, can I get somebody to suggest that we accept the President's report, please?
I'll move that we accept it.
And can I get a seconder for that?
Tom's waving his hand there.
Thanks, Tom. Lovely. Great. All right. So that's accepted. Okay, so moving on to the Secretary's report. Mr. Jones.
All right, excuse me. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Chris Jones. I'm the guy who sends you emails all the time. You may have read my name, but now you can see the face. So I penned the National Secretary's report as best I could, somewhat conversationally, because we know it'll end up in the newsletter and we want it to be entertaining to read as well. So I've said that, look, I normally cringe at the sight of Christmas decorations in September, because it's always too soon and it's a sign of an overzealous campaign to get you to part with your hard-earned money. But honestly, this year, I'll make an exception. The end of 2020 can be ushered in as early as you like, even if it takes tinsel and fairy lights. It's been a critical year on many other fronts too. Global temperatures are breaking records, which were only just set the year before. Carbon dioxide and methane emissions continue to grow. Australian politics has become an absurd pantomime where black is white, right is wrong, and we're told that emissions are being reduced while simultaneously opening coal mines and gas hubs. Transport emissions are still Australia's worst performing sector. They currently represent 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions and are growing. Little wonder the ABC's Fight for Planet A was a very successful television series. Despite these challenges, AEVA has continued in our mission to see the electrification of everything that moves, whether it's submissions to government, meetings with MPs and senators, or something as simple as inviting a business leader to an EV display. We've been pushing for a fairer and quicker transition to electric mobility. We're raising funds for critical charging infrastructure in regional Western Australia. We're hosting a series of drive days in the ACT thanks to a successful grant to the ACT branch. And we're collaborating extensively with organisations like Renew, Sustainable Energy Now, Clean State, Idle-Off, EV Council, Standards Australia, AEMO, and countless other statutory bodies. So one good thing to come out of the pandemic was our official AEVA Zoom account, which allows any branch to host a virtual meeting. And it's been really wonderful to see members from all over our states, especially places like WA and Queensland, where you couldn't get to a branch meeting in person. You can be there in person online, and it's a really, really good thing. As Chris said, our new website's been up and running for about 6 months now. Articles, events, stories, fact sheets, it's constantly being updated. So, do get off Facebook every now and again and have a look at the website, but it is really good. We've also got a directory section there where business members of the AEVA are welcome to put together a little page that promotes their wares. If you've got discounts that you want to offer to AEVA members, you are most welcome. And some of those discounts can be quite substantial. If you want to buy a Hyundai Ioniq, you are most welcome to get in touch with me. We'll put you in touch with the lead of AHG, and you can get about a $3,000 or $4,000 discount on an Ioniq. So a little hat tip to those in the know. Membership growth has stalled a little, which was to be expected because of a certain pandemic, but also when we transitioned to our new membership database. So I think now is the time to start pushing for more members to join the association, especially as EVs hit the mainstream. We've got over 20,000 EVs in Australia now, and I can't believe that when I first joined the association about 10 years ago, that was probably around about 600. So some phenomenal growth there. Not fast enough, but good. Our association represents a wealth of knowledge, experience, and humility, and we look forward to sharing that with the nation. And as it grows, so too will the demands on our branch committees. The AEVA is still run by volunteers, and it can be quite a thankless task. So please be patient as we do our best to make things happen. Plans are underway to update the structure, as Chris alluded to. And maybe one day we'll be able to pay people to do this stuff rather than put the burden on volunteers. We really don't want to burn out our greatest contributors. So I conclude that let's make 2021 a good year of change. Let's aim to double our membership, get out into the regions and promote electric vehicles and the opportunities they offer to regional Australians. And let's aim to include the full diversity of this nation into our organisation. We're often accused of being a bit male, pale and stale, and I think that's a fair criticism. Everyone drives cars, unfortunately, rides bikes, gets around on electricity basically. So we need to be as diverse as the nation we represent. Look, I think we're a great organisation, and the most resilient change happens from the ground up. So that's one of the real standing features of the association, is that it is grassroots, and it's really hard to stifle progress when it happens at the ground level. So thank you, everyone. I'm happy to continue on as secretary for another year. So thank you.
Lovely. Oh, that looks like a standing round of applause. Well done, Mr. Jones. So can I have a mover to accept the Secretary's report, please?
I'll move that. Eric from South Australia.
Thanks, Eric. And
Yeah,
a seconder?
seconded.
Kelly. Oh, it's a whole South Australian movement.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay.
That's better.
Has that got rid of that?
I think so.
Very good. Okay. The Treasurer's report, please. Mr. Day.
Okay, so if I can share this page, so hopefully you can see that.
Yes.
Coming.
Yeah, I've got it.
Excellent. So that's a snapshot of the finances culminating in FY22, but going back to FY15 as well. And from that, if we start with income, our membership numbers are generally up, and this is the first year we've had the full year of, not quite a full year, of the increased membership fee, meaning that our membership income has been increased. Donations are up significantly, but that was mostly because of the WA charge route and the hard work that Chris and WA did to raise funds for the charge stations there. Event income is down, but that's because the New South Wales Expo was structured differently than Queensland, but also some of the New South Wales income landed in FY19 in any case, so it's a bit across the two. But in general, the New South Wales Expo didn't sell as well as expected, so it's also a little bit off. Overall, our income is up, which is starting to add fuel to the fire of structures and changing the way that we manage ourselves financially, which we'll get to later in the meeting. From an expenses perspective, admin is up. That's in general. It's just a little bit more expensive to run, but we've also had some paid financial advice as well, and that's landed in that bucket. Insurance is up in general, but also because we've added new cover to do new things, the events as an example. I've added legal because we'll need to fund that. We'll talk about that in the coming up as well. Marketing is up. We've just done more things. It's been a progressive thing. We've been selling ourselves better. Website we're broken out for the second time this year, and it's trending up, but I think we've seen the benefits of that. Tools and equipment, well, that's the charger, the first charger for the WA charge route. Travel, nearly broken out, but it's fairly stable, and it's probably going to be down for FY21 for obvious reasons. And event costs were down, but that was largely because the New South Wales event was structured differently, and the Vic event, the numbers, we didn't start to spend the money expected. Roughly speaking, apples for apples, the New South Wales event was more expensive than Queensland. The Victorian event was on par to be about the same price, different structure as New South Wales. So it was the corollary to that is the event cost this year probably will be down, FY21 will be down, largely because of COVID and the whole structure around Zoom. When it comes to liabilities, well, that was the second WA charger, which we've now paid for, meaning that for FY20, we had a surplus of about 8,800, which is pretty much in line with what we've seen in previous years. Coming in the future, expecting membership to continue to increase progressively, as we've seen for some time. The FY21 event costs will be down. Because we've gone online. The income will match that, but we're also expecting the Vic conference will make a profit regardless of the way it's going at the moment. We're expecting some legal costs coming up in FY21 to do with the restructure. So in the circa of around $10,000, and we've already paid for one invoice for that in preparation for this. Separately, we will get the one-off grant from ACT for the ACT branch. And just as a general comment, when we start talking about the structure, one of the things I'd like to do is start to break away the AEVA events income and financial structure so it stands alone, so that we can do things like manage GST better and not have the complication of running the events through national nor the branch accounts. But then that'll also help us out support the new structure that we'll be talking about coming later. Are there any questions?
What are the final numbers as for June 30th, Michael?
For income?
Yeah, for current accounts, sorry.
So in the bank account?
Yeah.
So in total, we've got as of June 30, $122,521 with a liability, which was the charge station, of $33,765, meaning that our total assets at the end of the financial year are $88,755, which is a little bit up on FY19.
Okay. Any other questions for the Treasurer? Do you want to unshare your screen there so that we can see everybody? Right. Is there any questions, sorry, for the Treasurer? I'm just checking through. No? No? Okay. Can I have somebody move that we accept the Treasurer's report, please?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Who was that, sorry?
Glenn Elliott from WA.
Ah. Hey, Glenn.
Hey.
And seconder for that? Bryce.
Waving.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Thanks, Michael. Okay, moving right along, the newsletter editor's report. Mr. Gatton, please. Oh, you're on mute, sir.
My apologies there. I have written one, which will go in, it's about one page, will go in EV News, but I'll do the edited highlights, or if you think of highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing is I may be in danger of announcing more farewell tours than Johnny Farnham, in that I'm offering to take on the role of newsletter editor for a 4th year when I actually said I was only going to do it for 2. But anyway, yeah, it's
You are the voice, Bryce.
Yes, sorry about that. Don't associate me with that lot that were down at Chasm the other day that were protesting about the lockdown. But anyway, because that was the song they were singing. Anyway, I detour. As I said, I don't want to see the role of the newsletter fall over. So if I left at the moment, I suspect that because it is a very big job and nobody's particularly keen to take it on in its current form as an unpaid job, I'll keep it going for 1 more year. But I think that's probably about as much as I have in me to do that. So we need to look at some way of making it pay its way and have some sort of payment for, or paying somebody outside even to do it, because it's a 60-page newsletter every quarter is sort of the size of Renew, and they have multiple staff doing that. That's about it. EV News Review, it's now about 60 pages, and I'm proposing to keep it at about that for the following year. I really appreciate the increasing number of articles coming in from members, so please keep it up and more. It's really nice to have actually had a little bit of a bank come in from the last edition, so I think I've got about 20 pages of articles ready for the next edition. And this one will also have a 12-page insert for the e-conference, as well as the news, the AGM notes from today. So it might even be a bumper issue over 60, might even be closer to 70 this time. On the distribution front, the advent of the AEVA website has been much easier to distribute EV news now. So I think it's probably getting to more members than it has in the past, because it goes out to the most up-to-date membership list automatically every time. I actually put a note in my report saying the limit of 500 emails still prevented me from actually sending it out as one email to everybody. That's just changed in the last couple of days. So as of the next edition coming at mid-October, I will just hit go for an email saying it's out, here's the link, and people can download it straight from the site, which I can now actually load up to the site as well. Many thanks to Chris Jones over the years for uploading them for me, because anybody trying to do anything on that previous website was likely to kill it forever. Whilst EV News is a member-only benefit, which can only be accessed from the internal side of the website once you've logged in, feel free, please, to send individual copies to current or relevant back copies if people are inquiring, to interested people as a first contact reply as well. It's a good way of sort of getting the information around and getting people sort of interested in joining AEVA too. Also, as the number of back issues grows, it should be viewed as a library, I'm hoping, that people can actually send out, because we've got a whole lot of stuff that people have written about charging and their own trips. So if there's something that sort of triggers a thought, or somebody's coming and asking a question, just email them out. The downloads are instantly available via the website. So save all the different branches a bit of time. As a side note, I've been doing the EV fact sheets as well, and that's for the EV models that are available, so the full battery models plus a listing for the services single page. I was hoping, because I was only going to do 2 years in the editor role, that my longer term project sort of just quietly sit in the background, writing a whole series of fact sheets out beyond that. So it includes secondhand EVs. It would also include some of the grey import type ones people should be looking at if they were doing them on the same models, on the same model of that 2-page layout. And I was hoping to expand them into installing EVSEs and that type of thing. But because I'm staying editor for another year, that will go on hold. But that's sort of my long-term plan, is that would be an easy job. I could do it in my own time rather than EV News sort of forcing me in particular. So that was sort of my long-term plan and why I only intended to do EV News for 2 years. But anyway, we'll get there. And I really enjoy doing EV News. I'll sort of be sad to give it up, but it is getting closer to the time to do that. So if people in the executive want to look at trying to structure that in some way to make it a paying concern, that would be really good. Thank you for your time.
Bryce?
Thanks, Bryce. Well done. There's thumbs up all over the place and applause and all sorts of things. Can I have somebody move that the newsletter editor's report be accepted, please? We'll take that as Tom and a seconder as Paul Fallon. Thank you very much. So that's Tom Singer and Paul Fallon. Okay, Mr. Jones, the membership secretary's report.
Sure. Okay, so thanks to, I know we said thanks to Eric at the last AGM for being membership secretary for, I think it was about 7 or 8 years. We kind of lost count. But I will say thanks again for the continuation of the handover process, so that when the new membership database was established, it was a fairly smooth transition. Unfortunately, Ant Day, who did put his hand up to say he'll take on national membership, was ill and he had to have surgery and he wasn't sure what was going to come of that. Thankfully, Ant's made a full recovery and he's doing well, and would be keen to get back to helping with the process. However, since I've been quite involved with the website and the new website and the database and membership through that, I've kind of assumed the role of interim membership secretary. I've effectively done it for about the last, well, since the website was up and running anyway, or in the lead up to it. So without further ado, I have actually uploaded the National Membership Secretary's report for 2020 to the same page where I put the minutes to the previous AGM. If you're wondering, it's file number 617. You'll be able to find it there. Click on it to make sure that it's working. Yeah. Okay. So the switch to the new website has meant some renewals got lost in the wash. Of course, COVID-19 meant that in-person meetings took a back seat, so sign-ups in meetings obviously suffered as a result of that too. That said, we've done well at retaining the members that we have, and currently, as of last night, the number of financial members was 920. Someone's microphone has been rubbed. Yep. Thanks, Christopher. So he's put the link up there. So 920 financial members currently. There are 269 expired members, that is members whose membership lapsed a month ago or more. I'd really encourage branch committees to pester those people to get them to renew. Of course, if they don't want to, then accept their request and we'll remove them from the database. But it'd be great if we can sort of retain. We've got 10 pending members as of last night. So a total of about 1,200 members, including those who have recently expired metaphysically. We've Basically, membership is our core source of revenue, other than the fundraising we've been doing recently. Concessional members make up 40% of our numbers. As a rule, we don't police the eligibility of concessional claims. It's too hard, basically. But we do request that if you can afford to pay the general membership of $50 a year, please do. Because that's a big chunk of revenue that we can do stuff with if that was coming through. Based on annual income up until 3rd of October 2021, based on these numbers, would translate to $32,500 from general membership, $11,350 from concessional members, and $11,625 from business members, or $55,425 in total. So it's a key source of our revenue, and we use those funds to do what we do. I've put a table there and some graphs showing active and expired members for each state branch, state and territory branch. You can have a look at that. But I know what we're all waiting for, which is the top of the pops. Which branches have the most active members? The winner has been announced as Western Australia with 184 current financial memberships, or if you include those that have expired, 226. Next in line would be New South Wales, who currently has 162 active members and 32 expired members. Queensland has 150 active members, 57 expired and 1 pending, or a total of 208 members. Tasmania has 129 active members, 24 expired, 2 pending, or a total of 155. Victoria has 128 current active members and 61 expired, 2 pending, for a total of 191. South Australia has 109 financial members, 40 have expired, so a total of 149. ACT has 46 financial members and only 8 expired, for a total of 54. So ACT would, under our current constitution, be entitled to 3 National Council representatives as soon as you crack that 50 mark. So get cracking, guys. Finally, the Northern Territory has 5 active members, 5 expired members, for a total of 10, but administratively they're generally covered under the South Australian branch. We also have 7 undisclosed members where they've not put their address or postcode, so we've got no idea where they're from. I mean, we could write to them and ask them, but anyway, there's 7 members there. Business registrations, we've got 93 businesses have been registered as business members of the association. I should say that that includes those that have recently expired. So yeah, do remind people to renew their memberships. If you have any difficulties with membership, just send me an email and let me know, and I can usually fix it up straight away. So that's the National Membership Secretary's report. I see a few claps. Yay.
Thanks, Chris. And a special thanks to you for jumping in and taking that on without any questions or complaints. Obviously, that's going really well, so really appreciate that. I do have some concerns that the numbers might be slightly skewed towards WA. It seems odd that you're all of a sudden doing that role and WA have come from nowhere. But anyway.
They may be all living in a cemetery. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. I know how you work over there. Yeah. So you keep discounting all those Victorian members or changing their postcodes. I know what it's like. Unbelievable. Anyway, just because we're locked down, you think we don't know. Brilliant. Can I have somebody move, please, to accept that membership secretary's report? Now, if you don't want to, because you don't like the numbers, please don't move it. You know, let's. I'm joking. I've got Penny.
I'll move. Oh.
Penny moving and seconder of Charles.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. Thanks, CJ. Right, the National Committee report, which is actually the National Council meeting report that was held just before this meeting. I'll throw over to Clive Atwater.
Okay. I think my mic's on. Yes. Okay. In accordance with our constitution, the National Committee met prior to the AGM, covering off on 4 items. One is the election of the National Executive, disbursement of funds to branches, confirmation of the next national meeting and conference, and the update on the AEVA governance restructure. The first thing is that the election of membership, or at least of the executive, took place. I'm pleased to announce that all positions have been filled by the same people who filled them last year, and I think for the record they should be read out. President Chris Nash, Vice President Clive Atwater, Secretary Chris Jones, Treasurer Michael Day, Assistant Secretary Pete Gordon, Membership Secretary Chris Jones, News Editor Bryce Gayton, Webmaster Rob Hills, and Assistant Webmaster Christopher Walkden. So all of those positions were, the present office holders were pleased to nominate, and there were no alternative nominations received. I would love to see a contested election, not a Trumpian adversarial degenerate debate, but at least a bit of a contest for these positions, especially when we've got Chris Jones filling 2 of them. So that's just a personal comment. The Treasurer announced that, as per normal practice, funds of the state branches will be topped up to $3,000 where necessary. Several of the branches have reported that they're quite fluid at the moment, in excess of $3,000, and a couple of branches have yet to submit a final balance, but they'll be topped up where necessary. It was confirmed that the next national meeting will be held in Adelaide. Quite a momentous thing, really, in the sense that it's tied in with the Solar Challenge event. State government's getting behind it strongly. We've had a trend of growing conferences over the last few years, this year obviously being somewhat hampered by COVID, but Bryce is doing a pretty good job anyway. But my goodness, wait till Adelaide. I think we're going to see some amazing things happening there. So organizers for that. And finally, there was a bit of a review of the governance update. I think Chris covered that at the beginning of the meeting, so I'm not going to recap the content, just to say that it's a topic of discussion that the National Council has been pursuing and continues to. A lot of detail to work through. Kind of boring stuff, but necessary. And we're looking to try and get a draft revised constitution together. It was pointed out in 2 months, but that's right on top of the conference, so probably not good timing. 3 months is Christmas, so it's probably going to be early next year in reality, but we'll progress it as quickly as we can. We're not holding it up for the sake of it. And I think that was really the results of that meeting.
Okay.
I should also just mention that we do meet monthly, not the national executive, but the state meetings, and many of the meeting people are overlap. So there's a regular flow of information nationally, unlike perhaps a couple of years ago when the states carried the business of the organization between annual general meetings and annual meetings. We're meeting much more regularly and keeping on top of communication. And my credit to Chris Nash for making that happen. Over to you, Chris.
Lovely. Thanks, Clive. So I might just ask Penny, you've got a couple of motions that need to be put into the minutes for those elections.
Yes, Chris, they are the motions to accept the National Council decisions, and they're in Christopher Walkden's poll. So shall I move them both together?
Yeah, we might as well do both of them. Yep.
So the first motion to accept the National Council recommendations for appointments to all those positions, as Clive just ran through. And the second motion is to reaffirm the standard practice of delegating the power of decision making to the new executive.
Okay, very good. So that will appear as part of the poll. Now, in terms of the poll, I think we'll get everyone to submit at the end if you haven't already, and then we might just have a look at those poll numbers very quickly, make sure that we've got everything tied off before we sign off for the morning or afternoon, depending on where you're located. All right. Okay, National Committee report. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, to accept? I've got Sally Knight as a mover.
Who's going to be the shaker?
And we've got Glenn Elliott as a seconder. Okay. Lovely. Okay, thanks, Clive. Right, now, presentation of resolutions. Mr. Jones, I don't believe we have any resolutions, do we?
No, that's right. Other than the ones that we've got up on the poll there.
Okay.
As I said, the WA branch considered the legal structural arrangements, and we said yes, let's proceed. So that's obviously made it to the AGM. So yeah, no other motions have made it to me as secretary.
Can I note on the poll that there is a item 4 if you scroll down, which might be a motion that needs consideration.
Yeah, so I'll do the intro to that very quickly. So that is the 2030 project. For those who aren't aware, we have taken a decision at National Council to declare our own AEVA target for the, you'll see in the details there. What was the wording that you used there, Chris? It was for the new sales of ICE vehicles in Australia where a suitable EV is available, or something. I think you added in a couple of extra pieces.
Yeah, so the motion, to endorse 2030 as the AEVA target for no new sales of ICE vehicles, including heavy vehicles, buses, ferries, or any other machinery where an EV option is appropriate.
Yeah, so the idea here is that obviously the movement in Australia is very much a ground up movement. As everyone here is aware, we've had very little support from the federal government. In some states, we're getting some support, ACT being the leader in that at the moment. In other states, we're not really getting any support at all. So to try and create further discussion and build the movement, get more attention to the whole debate, we've taken a decision that we would like to have our own target, that would become a pledge that individuals could sign up to as well, and the businesses could also sign up to as well. And once we have collected some good names, numbers of names on those either individual states or regions or nationally, that we can then use that information to go to government and say, well, look, we've got this many people on board, you really need to be doing something. That is the general idea behind it. Did anybody have any immediate questions on that they wanted to air? Feel free to unmute yourself if it's a question that's worthwhile discussing. G'day, Mike.
My concern would be we'd get ourselves offside if we are the leading country. And I mean, why shouldn't we be the leading country? But there's so much discussion. I live in the country at the moment, and there's so much discussion about, you know, when you mention range, and they say, well, I live 1 kilometre further than the range, so it's no good to me. So I think if the date was a bit out from 2030, I'd tick the yes box.
Can I pop in there? We're actually, as Australia, 2030 is behind various countries, starting with, I think Costa Rica's 2022, Norway's 2025. A number of countries are coming in 2025. A number of other countries coming in 2030. Britain is actually about to shift it back from 2035 to 2035 to 2032, and there's talk about them shifting it back to 2030 already. So the dates have already been set. So in a couple of years' time, 2030 will actually be fairly well behind, rather than, and so it's only where it will be just mid-range. We won't be leading.
Yeah, the state of California in the US have also just announced they're going to run 2030. And the ACT have just announced that they're looking for 90% of their new sales by 2030. So there is a little bit of background as to where the number has come from on that one, Mike.
I think, yeah, sorry, I think the key part of that message is that it's where possible. So we know that for some people, you know, range is a tricky issue, but for 90% of Australians, they could already be commuting with an EV now. So it's still where possible.
Yeah, and we're not looking at getting rid of existing ICE vehicles in what we've contemplated there. We are talking about new sales. So the idea that people wouldn't be purchasing new ICE vehicles of whatever type, as long as there's a suitable EV available in that space.
Yeah, Chris, it does say where appropriate. So that gentleman who had the range concern, where appropriate, he may not be appropriate yet.
Quite possibly. We would hope, Tom, that would be well and truly overcome by 2030, either through charging or through longer battery range.
He can still vote in favour, because with that is appropriate would cover what the gentleman's concerns.
It is also possible to charge before you get to the edge of your range. I find I often do that.
Yep. Yep. Any other thoughts, Ed?
Is this going to be produced or written down somewhere that I can refer to the ESPDD for ACT? That we're pushing that, and we can teach them how to do it.
Yeah, so the
conference will be the place to do that.
Yeah, the idea would be we'd launch this at the conference, and there will be a page, obviously, which explains it, and for people to individually sign up. You know, and I guess all the other PR pieces that may come with it, whether that be, I don't know, stickers or whatever. I don't think we've completely gone that far into the building of the campaign yet, but certainly the idea is there, and we wanted to get some membership endorsement that AEVA commit to that target. Yeah,
I'd really like to incorporate that into eVenture running in March and the launch in January, February as part of the zero emission goals coming from ACT. Okay. So I'd like some more information on that, so I can develop my project goals for building email and think about that for aiming at that, so you can have more ranges, what you could use, what options are there, etc., etc. So yeah, I'd just like some more information so I can water it down for the government to understand it.
Okay. Fantastic. So Chris, I might get you to run the poll again so that everyone can fill in, because now we've had the 4 questions put forward. If everyone could fill in those and submit the poll, Chris, and then whilst we're just rolling through the any other business, you could just look at the results of that. So if everyone can just have a bit of a look at that, that would be good. Now, I've just blown up my...
So just as a note to everyone, that should still, if you click on poll, it should still be lurking there if you haven't submitted it yet. So just...
okay, there you go.
Mike, you're gesturing? You have to turn your microphone on first, though.
Earth to Mike, you're still on mute.
Sorry, beg your pardon. I clicked the no button for the last year's minutes because I wasn't at the meeting. But there
Okay.
ought to have been another one, NA or something like that, or?
Yeah,
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
good question. Yeah, that's okay. I don't think we, I can't remember the numbers required on that, Mike, so I wouldn't be too concerned on that. It doesn't have to be 100%. Okay, very good. So whilst those are coming in and Chris is collecting those, is there any other business that anybody would like to raise? Any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself to discuss any other business items. Sally.
Yeah, I've just got one. For next year's conference, we're looking for a really catchy slogan or title. I've had a very broad one from Chris Jones about FFS Australia, just get on with it. And my reply to that might be electrifying the weekend. But we need something politically acceptable, probably. So, yeah, we might need a bit of help. I mean, we were going to put it out to the local branch as well. But given that I'd like to, if we can get our venues and some basic funding and get our ducks in a row, I would like to make some announcements about it at the end of the conference, as is customary, but perhaps with a little bit more detail than we have in the past. So having a catchy name for it by then would be really good. Last time South Australia hosted in 2016, we were powering the future, but I don't see it as the future necessarily now.
No, it's the current.
No, that's right.
Ooh, the current. Yeah.
Thoughts welcome, please, to the South Australian Committee, please, over the next few weeks.
Okay, yep. So there's a few coming in on the chat function there, Sally, if you'd like.
Yeah, electrifying your life.
Yep.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please?
Yep, sure.
Just a couple of things. Just in general, first of all, do we accept donations from private companies? And the second thing is, do we have an education officer? And if we don't, I'd like to offer my services.
Oh, wonderful.
Sorry, now I'm trying to find you on the screen. I don't know if you're actually speaking.
I'm actually, I don't have the video on. I'm having trouble with my NBN at the moment, so I've cut off the. Yes, Daryl. Yeah. Right. Sorry.
That's right. No, I'm just trying to see where you're at. Beautiful. Okay, Daryl. We don't currently have an education officer. So yes, we will note that down and we'll come back to you. Which state are you based in, Daryl?
I'm in New South Wales. I'm in Mittagong, which is the Southern Highlands of New South Wales.
Okay.
My background is originally I was a teacher, but then moved into IT for the past 35 years. I've just completed courses in an engineering degree in renewable energy.
Okay.
And I think we've got to be proactive. We've got to get out there into the schools, into U3A, that kind of scenario.
Effectively, I've been in Victoria the de facto education officer and trying to push it out to the other states. And that's exactly what I do is U3A talks. I do talk probably, I've got 4 this month, for instance. So I'm doing pretty much every week again, even online.
Right.
I was doing every week, and all the EV fact sheets. That was one of the notes in my editor's report, that I was actually trying to move towards that role more than the editor's role, which was through the fact sheets and all of that side of it. So that's sort of, I'm hoping, would be my longer term. My background is as a teacher, instructional designer.
Right. Yeah. Do we have anything equivalent in New South Wales or?
No. So Daryl, if you would, if you'd like to send me an email, I'm president at aeva.asn.au.
Yeah.
And if you want to copy in treasurer at that same address, and you can also copy in secretary at that.
Sorry, I'm just writing this down. So president, treasurer, and secretary. Yep.
Yeah, at aeva.asn.au, and then we can talk to you. Take that offline. I won't bother giving you Clive's personal one, but we'll forward it on to Clive. And yeah, we'd love to have a discussion with you about that idea. We've certainly had some things that we've been discussing around a schools program. So that would be great.
And lastly, companies. Do we accept donations from private companies, or have we approached private companies?
We do.
Yeah,
we have got donations from, well, private companies, from private people as well. Hasn't been a lot, and it's not something that we've really chased. Structurally, it's not really. We're not a charity nor anything like that, so it's not been super beneficial, but we could.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Super. Ed, back to you.
Hi guys, I just wanted to clarify. There's a few mentions of the ACT grant funding that we received, but no mention of what it's actually for. So I did mention it in the chat. It's basically for the e-venture, which we're running in March next year, an amazing race styled event using solely electric transport, different stages, e-scooters, e-mopeds, anything that, including elevators, escalators, forklifts, like anything that's electric, and transportation for goods or people. And we're doing a launch event in February. There's a couple of decisions on that one, and then the core of information and learning we do from that goes into the 2022 conference that hopefully we'll be running here. So just say that's what we're doing outside in the world in ACT, promoting electric vehicles by pointing out that we already use them, so it's not a strange thing, and making an exciting adventure style thing. So that's what the majority of the grant bid was for, to make that event and make it really well, and make it hopefully an annual event, which is supported by the government, obviously through the grant. So that's what that's all about. Just to clarify that if anybody was interested. And AEVA National, I have a big part to play in that, which I'll tell you all about later on, Chris.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wolfgang.
Okay, so sorry, Ed. Very good. Can you please get in contact with me? I think we would like to sponsor something then.
Okay.
You know, in terms of low-speed vehicles. But that wasn't really why I was coming in. So first of all, thanks very much for all the work you've done on the program for eVision. You know, it looks very good. And I'm very pleased to see that electric vehicles are not just cars anymore, which they never have been for the AEVA, but in most circumstances, you know, everyone says an electric vehicle and sees it as a car. In saying that, we have had some interest from the low speed electric vehicle association in America with an offshoot in Europe, you know, to become a member of them as well. And as part of that, there's one of the things where the lines now are starting to blur, where sort of the electric vehicles start and where they end, with regards to scooters, e-mopeds. We talking about in your poll about ferries, about machinery and so forth. So in some ways, in Europe now, the light electric vehicles include the bicycles, the e-bikes as well. Yeah. And maybe that's an opportunity for AEVA as well to increase their membership, particularly sort of in the more younger section, because I mean, look, let's be honest here. When we look at the pictures, you know, we're all bit on the older side, you know. So it would be nice to have a little bit of a youth movement there as well.
Surely I don't look a day over 25.
No, but 25, you know, when, you know, the world is at 15, still a lot older.
Yes.
So what I was trying to say, that's one thing. The other thing too is, look, it's always difficult to find sort of I found it in previous years as well, find the actual conference website. And also, I would like to suggest maybe if people are having in their emails, maybe we can make a little email banner on the bottom, and say, you know, I will be attending the AEVA such and such, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting idea.
Yeah, so we have done that from a commercial point of view when we had any important conferences.
Yeah.
There's a little, and maybe we can, someone with graphic talents can come up, you know, and saying, you know, it doesn't have to be big, but just put it into your email in private, or if it's okay in your corporate sites. Send it out, you know, every time you send an email out, you might get someone who might be interested. So, so apart from that, look, guys, you're doing all a great job. Like to see bit more, sometimes a little bit more of the, how can I say, lobbying side in some of the areas.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we know that there are other industry bodies around, but sometimes, you know, for us, for instance, as a small business, we can't afford paying $15,000 a year. So having that from a ground point or from a coalface point of view, having AEVA there is helping us as a small company or a small developing company very much as well. So thanks to everyone.
Thanks for your contribution. Have we got anything else? Any other general business? I'm just scanning quickly.
I've had my hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to amplify my point about slower charging, because a lot of times when we've been talking about charging infrastructure, it's for road trips and not so much about commuting. But and also a lot of this talk about buying EVs is about range, but not so much about practicality. So, for example, my sister isn't buying an EV because she can't charge at home. And so it comes down to where people live and what the availability is of charging infrastructure for commuting. And it just seems to be a real roadblock that just isn't being addressed enough in terms of you know, that sort of practicality and actually time frames for this sort of infrastructure to really be there. And I was just wondering how the AEVA has been tackling this so far, because it seems like it's a lobbying type question, also an education question.
So Paul, your sister lives, I assume, in an apartment block of some description?
Yes. So really a lot of it is either changing the minds of body corporates or getting more destination charging that you can use for hours rather than minutes.
Yeah. So there's a number of things happening. So whereabouts are you based? Which state?
ACT.
ACT. So New South Wales, I believe, have made some changes to the building code to include charging points as part of building code for certain levels. I don't know the full details, but that's something that's already occurred. In terms of other states coming on board, yeah, I mean, pretty much there's a long way to go with a lot of this sort of stuff. We haven't specifically done anything on that particular area, but in the National Council meeting just before this meeting, we took a decision to set up a subcommittee on policy, which will be chaired by our Secretary, Dr. Chris Jones. He has written a number of the papers that we've submitted on all sorts of issues, from road tax to charging infrastructure, to, you know, what should be happening, I guess, with EVs and bring them into the country and so on and so forth. So we are certainly moving in that direction. That particular issue is not one that we've jumped into heavily. However, we certainly can get into that, and we'd welcome your input into that. So Chris can be contacted at secretary@aeva.asn.au. If you forget any of these email addresses, they're listed on the website. And I think, Chris, you might have even listed your mobile phone number on there as well.
I might just add to that. I think there is activity happening in many states. I don't think I can quite say all, looking at the requirement for apartments to be EV ready in future, for future development, looking at enabling it to be easier to get it to be installed in existing apartments, to look at rental properties, that it become a condition, zoning condition or a requirement if you're going to rent a property to enable the installation of a charger so that a landlord can't stop a tenant from doing it, etc. Looking at public charging in suburban areas with no private off-street parking, so your car's on the street, so there's no possibility of installing it in a private location, so it has to be on the street. And the other one is enabling and encouraging employers to provide employee parking with charging. So there's a whole bunch of different initiatives. There are different stages in different states. It's like so many of these things, there's about a 10-year lead time before anything happens. But we're several years into that, I think, in several states. But it's certainly not been lost. It's just not here yet.
Thanks. That's exactly what's needed, especially if there's going to be a deadline of 2030 for ICE vehicle sales.
Yep.
Paul, on that one in the ACT branch has submitted policy and recommendations to the government about EV charging in multi-unit complexes. The policy is coming out for new complexes. Existing complexes obviously different because they had different building codes when they were built. But the ACT branch is quite heavily in on that exact problem, and there's plenty of information that we have on our AEVA website. And if you look in the chat, there's a few of our ACT members who are involved in that as well. So there is information out there and alternative ways to charge, etc. So if you contact the ACT branch, you can, for your sister, we can help you sort that out. So
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah. Chris, now with the poll, how do we, the submit button only comes on when you've answered all the questions.
Yeah.
And for someone who wasn't at the previous AGM, I'm not eligible to vote yes or no.
So the motion was actually just to accept the minutes from the previous AGM. You don't necessarily have to be there, but
you can find them on the website.
They are there on the website. I don't think it's going to matter greatly, Tom, based on, I think we got 47 or 48 people here. You want to shoot that in?
Okay, yep, I'll just go yes, thank you.
Okay, lovely. And CJ, can you, sorry, is that any last questions? No, all good?
That's all good.
I haven't missed anyone. No, nothing on the chat that I've missed.
Can I just ask
had his
another?
hand up. Oh, sorry, I was Edward had his hand up earlier.
Yep, go for it.
Oh, he's gone offline now. I think he's just.
Yeah, what I was going to ask is when COVID is finished, will Zoom meetings continue with on-site meetings or not?
Very good question, Daryl. So let's deal with the first part. When COVID's finished, is that when Donald Trump declares it's real, or when COVID's finished? I'm not sure, because apparently he's today taken something that no one else has got access to. Anyway, yes, the idea from here, Daryl, is that because we've, let's say, become accustomed with this technology, that we would be looking at a program of monthly webinars. The full idea hasn't been fleshed out yet, but in basic terms, it might be that each state sort of hosts a national webinar on a monthly basis. So it just goes around the states, and I guess a couple of states will do it twice in the year or whatever we'll get to. That we would potentially then, depending on the technology development within each branch, that we would be able to run portions of the branch meetings via the Zoom set up as well. So that piece may take a little bit longer because we need to get the camera setups and so on all sorted. But there has been some experimentation with that with some branches already. So you can jump on the website and you could, for example, attend a meeting in Queensland. I think New South Wales have also been looking at doing something along those lines as well. So
yeah,
we're working towards making sure that we can bring the wider group into it. And ultimately, if we're looking several years down the track, or maybe not several years actually, maybe only a couple of years down the track, then I would like to think that we could be holding say for example, a Queensland meeting that might be physically based in Brisbane, but is beaming out to Townsville and Cairns and Toowoomba and a whole heap of other places. In WA, it might be going up to Broome and down to Esperance and so on and so forth. In Victoria, we'll be looking at, obviously having our sub branches, Melbourne and Geelong, come in on the Zoom as well. That's assuming we get out of lockdown.
Okay, thank you.
Eric?
Yeah, I've got a bit of an announcement. I think a lot of people might remember back in about 2012, we had a website called AEVA Festival, and I was actually keeping that up to date with any festivals that we had, like the annual events. We lost control of that. We actually, the AEVA decided not to keep that website going. Just recently, I actually purchased the domain name, evfestival.com.au, and I'm now producing a website which is going to be available for anyone to promote their electric vehicle event of any type, free of charge. And that's going to be launching this month. So,
sorry, Eric, was it, just repeat that again?
evfestival.
Yep.
.com.au.
.com.au.
So at the moment, there's a page there which says it's coming soon.
Yeah.
But I'm working in the background and it's nearly completed. So I'll let everyone know when that's happening.
Do you know where it went in the in-between time?
Well, it's interesting because after that was back in 2012 till about 2014 at least. I just asked the National Council whether they wanted to keep it going, and they didn't want to. And then I heard that someone interstate wanted to use it, and I thought, okay, fair enough. And it never, I don't know whether they did use it at all, but it obviously timed out again, and I found it was available for purchase. So
okay,
that's what I did.
Very good.
So I'm gonna run it as a not-for-profit website, and what I want to do is get a sponsor to run it, starting at about $200 a year, and see how we go with that. And then it might even drop down. It might not even cost that much after a couple of years. So
yeah, okay. I think it'd be worthwhile. We can take this offline, but I think it'd be worthwhile suggesting that that proposal that you put all of those years ago to the executive and see where we get to on that. All right, brilliant.
Thank you.
Lovely. Ooh. Okay, Mr. Jones, do we have some results that you can?
Okay, yes, we do. We have poll results.
Can you share them?
Yes. So 100% of folks have voted according to this. So 43 out of 43.
Chris, you could actually press publish button and everyone will see it straight up.
Oh, okay. So if I hit end polling.
And then share poll results.
Okay. Share results. There we go. So quite unanimous.
There we go. Okay.
Yep. So the only bit of dissent was one person saying that the National Council shouldn't have the delegation of decision making. I should add that motion is raised at every AGM specifically so that we don't need to go back to a full meeting of members to get a final decision on something. If it's important, we consult widely. It's as simple as that. But yeah, overall, I'd say all of those motions have passed.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, if that is all from everybody, I will declare the meeting closed. I'll thank you very much for your attendance. Appreciate the wide range of input there, and encourage everybody to get out there, be an EV ambassador, and let's see if we can build that membership even further. Thanks for your time, and enjoy your Saturday, and happy birthday to Chris Jones for yesterday.
Thanks, mate. I'm off to get wasted.
Yeah, you're very professional. That's been recorded too.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Thanks.
We'll see what everybody's